Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to Toast Sports Baseball. I'm AJ, and I've got Joe here with me. And we've got a loaded week to break down. Devin Williams cannot find the strike zone. Luis Arraez got smoked at first. Jazz is catching more heat off the field than on it. And we're talking some big fantasy risers, slumps that hurt your soul, and weekend matchups you should actually care about. Whether you're a diehard fan or just here for some chaos, let's talk some baseball. Let's start with probably the scariest moment of the week. Luis Arraez gets absolutely rocked trying to beat out a bunt, ends up in the hospital. It looked brutal. The guy took an elbow straight to the face and had to be carted off. So, Joe, this kind of collision is exactly why some people are pushing this whole extended first base conversation. What do you think? Is this overdue for a change, or is this just a freak play that is kind of a non-story here?
Me personally, I think it's a freak play. I'm still a little butthurt over the Buster Posey rule. I miss the collisions. Not that I'm rooting for the collisions, but I think it's just part of the game. And definitely unfortunate for Luis Arraez, but he'll bounce back and he'll be back sooner than later.
I know we did see an additional, I think there was a second collision this last week on first base. If I'm not mistaken, it was Alan Roden for the Blue Jays was running down the line and ran straight into Rowdy Tellez, which is not the guy you want to run into down the first baseline. But I don't know. It seems like it's happened a handful of times. If it's not guys running in and getting concussions, it seems like we've seen some ankle injuries. We've seen guys, even sliding into first, which isn't advised, but sliding into first and getting hurt with stepping on hands and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe if you just bring that base out a little bit, even if we're rooting for some collisions here and there, first base, I don't know, should be the spot we want to see it. Maybe second.
Yeah, I think they've already taken, at least how I was taught is that you go to the inside part of the bag when you're fielding, and then that avoids the collision. And, I feel like it's part of the game where if you have a Rowdy Tellez who weighs 530 pounds and is 7 foot tall, if you're the runner, you can't run through him.
It's a benefit to your team to have a guy like Tellez at first base.
So it's definitely unfortunate. I would like to see the game not change less. I would like to have it stay more consistent. Maybe that's just me getting long in the tooth and watching it. But I think college has the two bags now, and it looks weird to me. But that's just my opinion on it. I think you learn to play the game so you don't get injured, just like in any other sport, to protect yourself. And if you're not doing those measures from a base runner standpoint, running to the opposite end of the bag, or from a fielding standpoint where you stay on the inside part of the bag, then that's kind of just the decision you made in the moment. And I don't think that's a game issue, but just a situational issue.
So to your point, I did go back and look at some of these plays. I don't know that it would have been avoided either way on either one of those two, because the throw took the first baseman into foul territory anyway. So whether that bag was extended out another foot or so, I don't know that it would have mattered. I think we still would have seen a collision there, maybe less bad, but that's up to interpretation. So, but I'm kind of with you. I think we've had a lot of changes over the last few years. I don't think we need drastic changes each year to keep the game, interesting. But that being said, there is something to be said about some of the changes that have been installed. This last Friday, we saw record-breaking attendance at games. Seems like some of this stuff is maybe liked by the casual fans. The bigger bases, the pitch clock. I will say I'm a purist of baseball, so I like I know what I'm getting into when I go to a game, but I've been to a few games lately where it is nice to not be there till like 11 p.m. On a random weeknight. So I don't know. I'm in a love-hate with all the rule changes.
Yeah, I would be the first to admit that I hated the pitch clock rule, and I hated how they tried to shorten the games just from a time standpoint. And now when I go to a college baseball game and there's no pitch clock and you're there for 3.5 hours or 4 hours and you can go watch a pro game in 2 hours and 30 minutes, it's been very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So I do think that some of these rules for traditionalists like ourselves with baseball, you always think it's going to be bad, but some of them have turned out to be pretty good. Yeah. Having said that, I still don't think they should change the first base rule. I still wish they would implement where you can take out the second baseman on a double play, and I still wish that you could run over the catcher, because I think that's just, it was part of the game and it's part of the toughness, and I think it's part of baseball, and it's something that I think people miss and don't appreciate it because it's not there as well.
Yeah, we need to have a Toast Sports baseball spin-off league where we just allow the craziest of activities. I did make mention just a minute ago. So on Friday, it was actually, I think, April 18th. MLB games averaged 35,284 fans across 14 matchups. It was the highest average attendance for a Friday in April without home openers since 2008. There's definitely growing engagement early in the season. I think it indicates some strong interest in baseball, which is great. And it's across various markets. Obviously, we're seeing this across 14 matchups is great for baseball. I'm excited about it. I think the more fans we can get into this, even on a casual basis, while still maintaining these old heads like us almost, where we just want to see the pure baseball. I do think if we can find a happy middle ground, this is going to be what's best for the long term of this league.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about baseball is that you can go to a game and still, like, if you have a date, you can, like, have conversations with your date, and something happens, you tune into the game. And there's really no other sport like that. Football, you have to have your undivided attention. Basketball, it's nonstop. But with baseball, you have these little breaks mixed in with extreme athleticism and creativity, and it makes it a really unique experience. And I think with this shortening of the game from a time standpoint has really attracted people to start going to the games more, which is great.
Yeah, I know we did a Bark in the Park recently, and it was me and my fiance and a few of her girlfriends. None of them watched a minute of the game, but there was a lot of dogs there, and there was good food, and I like the game. So, I
think something happens, I'm sure they enjoyed that moment.
Exactly.
There was a home run. I was runs. Like, oh, whoa.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, everybody was rooting Bobby Dahlbeck on at the game. It was great. Bobby D.
Dahlbeck.
And then now he's back with the White Sox for a short time. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I'm excited to see people excited about baseball. That gets me fired up. I hope it continues. So sustained fan interest is going to be a big topic over the next couple of years, especially when we're talking about potential lockouts and stuff. Hopefully we can avoid some of that crap. Let's talk about one of the hottest hitters in baseball, and you may not know his name. If you're a baseball junkie, you probably do know his name, but if you're just a casual fan, there's a potential you've never heard of this guy. Tyler Soderstrom. He's on a meteoric rise. He is absolutely crushing baseballs. I believe he was a rookie last year. He did get some at bats a couple years ago, but not enough to sustain a rookie status. So last year he was a rookie. He is batting .298. He's leading the MLB with 9 home runs, and he has over 1,000 OPS already this year. And his advanced metrics, which we'll dive into here a little bit, they don't show him slowing down anytime soon. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you look at his Savant page, and it's just bright red with everything. Hard hit percentage, 85 percentile. Barrel percentage, 93 percentile. Exit velocity, 90 percentile. And then when you look at these power hitters like he does, or in a power position in these corner infield slots, his K percentage is about average, which is really good at 22.3%, which puts him at 51% in the league. And his whiff is only 35%, which could be improved, but if your job is to hit home runs and to drive runs in, then you're going to be okay with him whiffing every once in a while if he's going to, barrel the ball up at 93% when he does make contact. And then his walk rate, which is above average, at 9.6% is also really good. And the fact that he's doing this at 23 years old makes it even really more impressive. And something you got to wonder if the A's are going to start locking up a lot of their young talent, including this guy. So the A's offense just continues to look scarier and scarier with the more people they continue to add, and extremely young and versatile.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you look at it. And to that point, the A's aren't known for locking up their talent long term. They're known for trading them away or letting them walk for nothing, which has been kind of one of the reasons that they've had such a downturn as an organization. But I think now they're in a perfect spot to flip the script here. This guy was a first rounder in 2020. He's had a rapid ascent through the minors. Lock him up. He's improving. I think that's the thing too, right? Age 21, he comes in. He strikes out 31% of the time. He's only walking 8% of the time. And his underlying metrics aren't wowing you. Then he kind of takes a step forward. Every metric across the board goes up. He cuts his strikeouts down to 24% from 31 and starts walking at a 9.4% clip. Now this year, we're already seeing that trend continue. He's down to a 22% K rate with a 9.6% walk rate. You get that even a little bit closer to a lower 20, maybe like a 20, a 19% K rate. This dude's going to be in monster. He's going to be a monster.
And you think about it, I mean, they're moving to Las Vegas. It's like, you want to talk about a dream situation if they get some money truly behind them. Las Vegas could have an extremely interesting baseball situation over the next 5 to 10 years if they play their cards right. No pun intended. But, he's definitely someone to continue watching. If you have not added him to your fantasy roster, I don't know what his roster percentage is, but I'm sure he's been snagged up for the most part. He looks like he's here to stay. We'll see what his stats look like in another month or so.
Yeah, I don't know that I would be selling high on this guy right now. I'd be waiting, personally. I want to see if this is going to be sustained specifically over the month of May. Because once you get into June, if he still has these statistics and he's going on the road and he's hitting in warm environments, I don't see it. He's going to be, he might match 50 plus, especially playing out there in Sacramento, where the ball just seems to fly. So, yeah, really exciting for A's fans. I think, you got a lot to be excited about. A lot to be excited about if you're an A's fan right now. Something that's not crazy exciting on the other coastline is a guy who was a huge acquisition for one of the teams in the AL East, Devin Williams. This guy is atrocious right now. I know we mentioned it in the lead-in. He can't hit the strike zone. I think that might be an understatement. This guy is not getting any swing and miss. He's not hitting the strike zone. He has more walks, or just about as many walks as he has strikeouts. He has as many earned runs as he has strikeouts. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. His signature airbender changeup has seen a drop in effectiveness. Swing and miss rate is 22.4% from 48.8% last year. That's half, guys. That's more than half. I don't know what's up with him. He's looked horrible.
Yeah, and his advanced metrics for this year kind of show that as well, especially his walk percentage. I mean, it's insane. In 2024, he had a .97 whip. In 2023, he had a .92 whip. And for his 7 seasons, including this one, it's a 1.06, which was probably below 1 because this year currently has a 2.13 whip, which is just uncharacteristic for this guy who has arguably been the best closer over the past 3-4 years. And he's in a contract year, so you'd think this would be his, if you want to have a good year, it'd be this year. So we'll see. I think it's still a little early. I think there are some encouraging stuff. His average exit velocity is low, so people aren't really squaring him up still. It's just more of just him finding the zone, throwing strikes, and kind of getting more dialed in.
Yeah, to that point, his FIP is a 3.1, or actually, sorry, he's a 3.66 is his FIP. So still not great. It's not what you want to see, but when you have a 7.88 ERA, that's a pretty good FIP. He did have a couple of scoreless and hitless outings. I know Aaron Boone has expressed some confidence in him as well, which, you know, if you're Devin Williams, that could be the jolt you need. Your manager behind you on that. So I don't know. I would wait and see a little bit on this guy, but you know, with closers and how fickle late inning relievers are these days, and how many guys can actually go in there and get it done, I don't know that I would wait very long on him if I'm the Yankees. I'm not going to let him lose positioning, especially early in the season, and lose winnable games for me. If it continues over the next couple weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him drop into more of a setup role.
Yeah, I mean, he is on pace to have his worst year since his rookie year in 2019. And then 2020 through 2023, his FIP was 0.86, 2.82, 2.01, and 2.66. And those ERAs corresponding was 0.33, 2.5, 1.93, 1.53. So, and then 2024, he had a 1.25 ERA with a 2.06 FIP. So I think he's going to figure it out. I think it's just a matter of time. It looks like his average fastball is also dipping. Maybe that has something to do with it. It's down 0.7, 0.8, and it could just be that he just needed an extended spring training, which is going to last through April. So could be a factor of all these things.
You always get worried about guys when you see that they're so elite, right? And then they come into the season and you see the velo down a little bit and you see the contact rise a little bit. I'm not saying I don't know any more than the Yankees do, but you got to always wonder, is there something lingering there? I know we saw it with Justin Steele already this year as well. Kind of came into the season, didn't look quite like himself, didn't have a great spring training, and it turned out there was some stuff going on with the elbow there. So hopefully not. Obviously, that's not something that we would want to see happen, but just kind of puts in the back of your mind there. Speaking of elbow issues and all sorts of other issues, I know we've had a guy that plays for the Boston Red Sox who you're excited to see back on the mound, albeit not the greatest debut back. However, any debut back on the mound after being out as long as he has, is a great scene. Liam Hendriks, ex-White Sox closer, current Red Sox pitcher. What can you say about this guy?
Well, I think it was his first game back in like 600 and something days, fighting off cancer and then Tommy John. And he's back. His first outing was pretty piss poor, to say the least. But anyone who fights through that type of adversity is always cool to see. And hopefully he can regain his stride like he was a couple years ago as a top-end reliever.
Yeah, Australian-born. Dude, he's got to be tougher than nails to go through all this. I think he can bounce back and be a decent, arm in that bullpen. I'm excited to see him back on the mound. I saw him a couple times when I was up in Chicago, take the mound years ago, and he was electric back in his heyday. So really exciting to see him. It's been 681 days, like you said. That's a long time to be out of the MLB, but I'm excited to see him in your bullpen, and I think he's going to be a good addition. We're gonna go back to the Yankees, your favorite team. There was a incident that happened this last week with Jazz Chisholm. He was suspended for one game and fined by Major League Baseball for violating the league's social media policy. He was ejected from a game against the Tampa Bay Rays, I believe, where I'm not even going to lie. It was a horrible call by the umpire. John Bacon was the umpire. It was a bad call. He got upset about it, got in the umpire's face, got kicked out. Aaron Boone actually was the calm one in this situation, which is crazy to say. He goes back to the dugout, goes back to the locker room, and tweets out, I don't even know what it said, but I think it said something expletive was not even close. Social media is a new man's game. These kids are just going back. They're going and tweeting how they feel. He's not in the game anymore. It shouldn't be a violation in my eyes, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how the MLB got involved. To me, this is an internal issue, depending on how the Yankees want to manage that. In my opinion, that no player should be on social media during the game, whether they're ejected, playing, or not with the team. But that's just me personally, and I think that should be held by each organization. I don't think the MLB has any right to come in and discipline a player when that's the organization's job.
Yeah, you might feel differently if you were on the mound and you had a pitch that was up at the chest and it was called, or it was right in the zone and it was called a ball. You might be feeling a little different if you got kicked out of that game, Joe. I know it.
Well,
you might have taken to Twitter back in the day.
I would have made my peace with the ump then.
For sure.
I would have gotten everything that needed to be said to the ump, and then if I get ejected, then I'm just going to take a shower early.
Just let it roll.
Yeah. There's just too many eyes now on social media, and I'm sure that's why the MLB is involved, is because he used an explicitive, and they're growing, and they don't want anything to stunt that growth. So
yeah, I get it, but I do agree with you. I think it's a team issue. The team should have just said, "Hey, if the MLB wanted a suspension, just make it a team suspension, just so it, from an optics perspective, you don't get the MLB involved in something that it's kind of a gray area if they should be involved anyway." But I do know that he appealed the suspension. He's been playing. I think it's still under review. Be interesting to see what happens with it.
Yeah, or just do a fine. Hey, you went on the Twitter, and that's against our bylaws, whatever. You owe $15,000, whatever the cost is. So, that wasn't the only news, though, from tweeting this week.
Yeah, there's another guy who is not playing, not on the active roster currently. The Atlanta Braves superstar Ronald Acuña Jr. had another social media controversy where Jared Kelenic flied out to right, or actually no, he didn't fly out. I'm sorry, he actually hit a double off the wall. What would have been a double, but he didn't get out of the box. He watched it. It flew. It hit the top of the wall, and he got thrown out at second base. Pretty similar to what happened to Acuña, except Acuña was benched. Kelenic was not benched. And there were some comments that came from Ronald Acuña Jr. after that was since deleted. But I think generally what it said was, if it were me, they would have taken me out of the game. And that's just not a good look right now for what the Atlanta Braves need, is this type of turmoil. And he just threw that in there like a hand grenade, and it has gone haywire. What's your take on him expressing his opinion firstly, and then we'll kind of get into the ramifications of this whole thing?
I mean, obviously, I don't agree with him doing that. He should have met with Stinker and them boys and let him say his piece, because things clearly were not handled the same way that were handled with him. And I understand, like, you're the superstar, so if you do it, everyone does it. So we're going to discipline you to set the tone of the team. But on the same hand, it's like Jared Kelenic's hitting like a $187. Like, I don't care if you hit the ball 600 feet. Like, you should be busting your arse everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And the irony of it is that when Acuña comes back, Jared Clinic is probably the one who's going to get sent down to make room for him.
Yeah.
So, like, what is this guy doing? And then, I mean, obviously the press conference was, I think, the biggest news of it all, because that was just very odd how Stinker handled the entire situation.
Yeah, he definitely did not make things any better. He said that he heard about it as he was walking to the dugout. Heard something was up, came in, and they said it was down. Haven't talked to him, so I don't know. And then he basically said, I'm not going to get into all that. I'm just going to concentrate on the guys that are here in the game today. However, he neglected to do that, and kept going down the rabbit hole and said, what was I supposed to do? It got weird. It got awkward. Let's hear your take on it.
What was wild to me is that the interviewer asked him, like, hey, did you see it? And he was like, no, I didn't initially see it. And so, like, he has a bench coach that's sitting right next to him. He has an entire dugout. He clearly sees where the ball went. And then how does he get thrown out at second? And no one on his staff was like, yeah, Jared Clinic didn't, like, bust ass out of the box. He tried to pimp a home run that didn't exist. You know? So there's A. Then B, he said...
He actually, and he, to that point, he actually said, I didn't know it until I saw it in the morning. So it's not even like he saw it.
What are you doing? And then, like, you sell out your entire staff. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is clearly a rule you've had since that was like 2019 when Acuña did that, something along those lines. So you've had this rule within your program for 6 years. And then all of a sudden it happens again and you're oblivious to the situation, and so is your entire staff. And replay and you didn't... How did he get thrown out? Can we look at the replay real quick? Like, what do you mean you had no clue what's going on? So that was super weird. And then the other weird thing is they asked him, like, hey, did you see the tweet? And he's like, no, I don't have Twitter. Okay, so there's no PR team for the Atlanta Braves. No one contacted you. Like, it's cool that you don't have Twitter, but you have no knowledge of what your players are saying on social media. I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. And B, it's like, this is your number one player in your organization, however you want to look at it. And you're not immediately resolving that. Like, yeah, I saw him tweet. I called him immediately after the game, discussed what was going on, yada, yada. However he wanted to defend himself with the situation. Yeah. Do I think Ronald Acuña handled it correctly? No. But do I think Stinker handled it correctly? I think he's way in the wrong more than Ronald Acuña is.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, from a media standpoint, the way, if anybody follows basketball, how this whole Nico Collins thing has gone, the GM of the Mavs, where he's just out there and they're asking him questions and it just seems like he's not grasping what he's saying, and he's just spewing words out there and not realizing that this is not going to have a good look on your organization, your coaching staff, your player base,
locker
room is which is already in flux, by the way, if we're being honest here. You've had a horrible start to the season, and this is just making things worse. He could have easily just said nothing. Could have said nothing. We keep this internal. Didn't have to go crazy with it. He dug himself a hole, and now here we are. We've got weird dynamics all over the place. I'm interested more than anything to see how the Atlanta Braves handle the next couple weeks. And then once Ronald Acuña comes back, which isn't far off, I don't know. Could be an interesting year for the Atlanta Braves.
I'm still just in shock by it all. I can't believe it. Like, really can't. He could have easily, like, nipped that in the butt and just been like, yeah, I messed up. I messed up. He should have been pulled. Somehow it wasn't, I didn't see it and no one notified me, but we ended up talking to him. That situation's taking control now, which he did say. He said he handled it. He had a meeting with him the next day, but that still doesn't get to the fact where if you have a rule, and you've already implemented it to your superstar years before. Why was
Yes.
it not implemented to this person?
Exactly. Yeah, and from bad to worse with the Braves, you have this whole situation, and then you've got your bona fide ace comes back, has a decent outing for not being in the majors for more or less a year. I think he gave up 2 earned runs, and boom, right as all this is happening, back on the IL after a Tommy John surgery last year. Now he's on the IL with a grade 1 right hamstring strain, which he sustained while playing catch. Just gut-wrenching to this organization. They are calling up, I believe, right-hander Michael Peterson from AAA Gwinnett to fill Strider's spot. So that should make you guys feel really good. Get rid of Strider and call up Peterson, man.
It's going to be a wild ride for Braves fans this year, for sure. So we will see what happens. But if they win the series against the Cards and they win the series against the Diamondbacks, they'll be right around 500 entering next week. So
yeah, and actually that is something to note. So as we start looking at some of the standings, right, where we're at, we're a couple weeks in now. Teams are starting to get warmed up. We're starting to see a little bit of separation in certain divisions on, who's real, who's not real, who's struggling, who might bounce back a little bit. I will make a quick note about the Braves. They are 9-13, and if you were 1-7 to start the year, 9-13 doesn't feel so bad right now. They're on a decent trajectory to be able to kind of dig themselves out of an impossible hole. But man, I really hope that things don't continue down the road that they are. But let's look at some of these other standings. Let's look at the American League. So right now we've got the Yankees out in the American League East. You've got the Detroit Tigers in the Central, and you've got the Rangers in the West. All 3 of those teams are only about a game to a game and a half max above second place. Not a ton of separation. The top of these divisions, it looks pretty competitive to start the year.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's as advertised in the AL East, where it's going to be a crapshoot for the whole year. And then in the National League, you got the Mets, Cubs, and Padres and Dodgers tied, with really the Mets the only team that has a more than a game and a half lead over second place. And kudos to the Mets. They have been overperforming with their pitching staff all year so far. And they're also 10-1 at home. It's a great time to be a Mets fan, which is usually this time of year is the best time to be a Mets fan. So par for the course for that organization and fan base. But you look at the Central and the West. The West is crazy. You have the Diamondbacks, who are 13-9, sitting in 4th place right now, 2.5 back. And then you have the Cubs with the 2.5 game lead over the Reds and a game and a half lead over the Brewers. So there is some separation in the Central, as the Cardinals and Pirates are falling quicker every week.
Yeah, I think I think you and I have pretty much agreed on this, and I think most people that have watched the start of this season would probably agree. I think the Central is going to come down to Cubs and Reds. I just think that they're the best 2 teams. I think they're the most talented 2 teams. You've got some star power with Kyle Tucker and Ellie De La Cruz on either side. They just feel like the teams that are going to separate. Milwaukee's interesting because they always do a little bit more than they should with less, even without Craig Counsell now. But I don't know. Their home and away splits are a little telling to me. They're 9-4 at home and 3-7 on the road. I don't know that they are going to be good enough to stick with the Cubs and Reds unless they make a move, which they're not really known for doing. So I think you'll see some separation there. But across the National League, East and West right now, a lot of good teams, man. I mean, the Marlins are 10-12. Who would have thought that? looking at some of these standings, it is eye-opening. But I do think at the end of the day, best division in baseball, NL West, it's not even close. I mean, if the Rockies were replaced by any half-decent team, we would say it might be the best division ever in the history of baseball. So it's crazy. It's crazy to see. I'm really excited about some of the starts that we're seeing from some of these teams, especially when we're looking at offensive leaders. Let's run down a couple of these offensive stats right now. So OPS, we've got the Yankees, followed by the Cubs, followed by the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Cardinals. And for anybody that doesn't know, OPS takes in on-base percentage and your slugging. So it's a really good tell on if your team's hitting well or not. These are the top offensive teams in the league, and it's not really close. And one of the things, too, to kind of make note here is the Cubs are actually one of the best teams from a run perspective. The next closest is 15 runs away from them. They're at 145 runs to start the year. And on top of that, they lead the league in left on base. Runners left on base. So it could be way worse for some of the teams that they have played so far with some of those 20-plus run games. Who sticks out to you the most right now from an offensive standpoint? Well-rounded, maybe, or just a single statistic that you think is like, wow, I did not see that one coming?
Well, I think besides the Cubs, I think my biggest shock has been the Yankees, because I still think their lineup is very vulnerable, but they have done the exact opposite to start the year. They lead the league in OPS, they lead the league in home runs, they lead the league in slugging. It's surprising. They got a lot of old guys that are performing still. And obviously they have Aaron Judge still, who's healthy.
Yeah. And hitting like 409.
Yeah. I would say my biggest surprise is the Orioles. I thought they would be a better offensive production team. Obviously, Gunnar just got back. I apologize. I'm fighting a sneeze at the moment.
They have had some injuries though as well, right? Obviously, Gunnar Henderson's been out. I know they lost. Who did they lose? Colton Cowser. They lost to a thumb injury for like 6 weeks. So there's some, guys missing in that whole thing. But Adley Rutschman has not been good. I mean, we can just call it what it is. Adley Rutschman's not been good, and Gunnar Henderson has been meh since he's came back. One of their best offensive talents has been Jackson Holliday and Cedric Mullins, which those aren't bad names to have, but I mean, with the other names in that lineup, I'd be expecting a lot more from some of them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that would kind of be my team I'm most surprised with, who's underproducing, and then the Yankees. I was a little shocked to see them atop of all those different offensive categories.
I know that probably just makes you so chapped.
Well,
makes you so chapped.
It's interesting. So we will see what these stats look like in another month or so. It usually takes about 2.5 months, 3 months to really get a good gauge. The Athletics and Angels are up there too. They're top 10 offenses in baseball, which I don't think anyone would have kind of predicted. So a lot to be told, but I think the teams that are top of the division, the majority of them have really good offenses.
Yeah, and on the flip side, there's some teams that are on top of their divisions that have really good pitching, and pretty dang good defenses as well. But overall, I think one that shocked both of us the most, which I've been on record, and I'm going to stay on record. I think the Mets pitching staff stinks. I think they stink. And I'll stand by that until mid-year, and if I'm still wrong mid-year, I might take it back. But right now, I can't say much. They are leading the league in ERA. They're leading the league in FIP. And their strikeouts per 9 is second in MLB. How are they doing this?
Yeah, I when I saw their ERA was first, I immediately looked at the FIP to be like, well, they're probably just getting a little lucky. et cetera, and then they're number 1 in FIP. So kudos to their dudes and their starting rotation and bullpen for showing up, making Cohen look like a genius at the moment.
Yeah.
Who says they don't need to go get anyone? They have the best rotation in baseball. So for the first month and a half, it's a great time to be a Mets fan. So we'll see. I think if you're looking at pitching stats, FIP is nice because sometimes it tells you a story that's not being told. And FIP essentially just tells you the home runs, walks, and hit by pitches that a pitcher's giving up, and then basically their strikeout rate. So it's not considering like your bloop singles, your errors behind you. It's more of like, are you giving up runs by home runs, and are you walking people? And then what are when you do get in trouble, are you able to strike people out? And so one team, for instance, the Red Sox, they are 12th in ERA. However, they're 4th in FIP. So that tells me that they've actually been pitching better than the stats show. So that's encouraging if you're a Red Sox fan. And you can do this exercise however you want to do it with these other teams. But for the most part, your ERA, which is, like I said, it's only been a month. It's been 5 weeks, really 4 weeks if you don't include the first 2 games of the first week. But the Japan series. But your ERA and WHIPs are pretty similar to your top 5 to 7 teams in baseball, which makes sense because there's not enough data yet. But yeah, the Mets are definitely the most surprising team for me on this. It's not even close. The Dodgers not being higher up with the amount of money they spent on their bullpen and starting rotation might raise some eyebrows, but I think eventually, once the dust settles, they will be in those categories.
Agreed. Yeah, I think from a pitching standpoint, we expect to see the Dodgers up there. They just need to get a little healthier. I know that Glasnow's now had some issues. Obviously, Snell's been out. We've just seen a little bit of injury issues there, but I think overall, most of the teams you see on these lists right now, I kind of expect will stay there based on what I'm seeing from how they're performing early in the year. Now, anything can happen. We may see a meteoric rise from somebody and puts their teams a little bit higher up. But right now, I mean, there's nothing to suggest to me that these teams weren't already some of the best teams in the league. You look, especially from a pitching perspective, Mets, Rangers, Astros, Padres, Red Sox, we knew they were all going to be good. Phillies, we knew they were going to be good. Dodgers are up there. Rays are always good for some reason or another. And then on the offensive side of the ball, yeah, I mean, they're still the Yankees and they still play at Yankee Stadium. The Cubs had a great offensive year last year. There was no reason to expect that they would have a massive drop off, and they added Kyle Tucker. That one makes sense to me. Diamondbacks have a lot of power as well, and Padres are just, their lineup is ridiculous right now. So I don't see anything screaming out to me that these won't be the teams in a few weeks, if not months, that we'll see up in these lists. Speaking of Mets, you ready to talk about it?
Yeah, it was a rough week. It was a rough week.
So let's recap a little bit of last week. We had some series predictions if you were following along with us. We had 4 series last week that Joe and I picked between, starting with Cardinals at Mets. Joe, your take was Cardinals 2-1, which, by the way, everybody, we did slip a little bit. We realized afterwards that this was a 4-game series, not a 3-game series. I still would have gone with the sweep, and I did go with the sweep, and the Mets swept the Cardinals in a 4-game series, which is music to my ears as a Cubs fan. But, man, I can say I saw that one coming, but I don't know if I saw a 4-game sweep. That was pretty impressive by them.
Yeah, I was going with the logic that the Mets have been hot and they needed to cool off, and all they did was get hotter. So the Cardinals really let me down. It's really all I got to say about that.
And then we had Yankees at Rays. Joe, 2-1 Rays was your pick. 2-1 Yankees was my pick. It was 2-1 Yankees. When you're hot, you're hot. You know, those were two spot on. Actually, I take that back. It was actually Yankees 3-1, another 4-game series that we screwed up. I probably would have taken the Yankees anyway in that series. Dodgers at Rangers. You wanna explain this one to the people?
Yeah, we both got it right. So that was a good win for me. AJ obviously tagged along, but no, really good series. That's my World Series prediction. So literally to a T, because I have the Dodgers winning it all. So
it was a great series. Actually, if anybody watched it, it was a lot of fun to watch. Dodgers just had a little bit too much Tommy Edman. That dude just keeps hitting the ball, and I don't understand it. KC at Detroit. This was one where we split. I think this is already the third time these two teams have played this year. I had the Tigers. in a 2-1 win in the series, and you had a 2-1 Royals win. This was another 4-game series. Tigers did take it 3-1. So that brings our season total at this point in time. I am now 8-4 on predictions. You are now 4-8. We are so early into this whole thing. I can tell you right now, all it's going to take is a few weeks, and this could be back to neck and neck, or you could be blowing me away. So that's the fun part about this, and we are going to have some additional predictions here in a minute. But before we get to that, let's talk a little fantasy baseball. How are you feeling? We're into a new week here. We're in 2-week matchups, but right now I'm halfway through my matchup and I'm not feeling great about it, but there are some guys that I'm excited about.
Yeah. We're looking at the hot list. You got Dylan Cruz, the young buck. Last 5 games and 350, 2 bombs, 2 stolen bases. Is this the year? Is this the year of Dylan Cruz?
I really hope so, because I have a Bowman first autographed card of his that could do some major numbers if this guy takes off. But if he sucks the way he has sucked to start his career, I'm going to be none too pleased. No, all jokes aside, this guy actually looked really good. I have to caveat with the fact that he was at Coors Field, but he did have 2 home run game. He's hitting the ball pretty well. I think he was using both, all sides of the field basically.
Torpedo bat?
I'm not sure if he uses the torpedo bat, but at this point, based on the recent production, it wouldn't surprise me if he switched to it.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited about him breaking out, man. I like seeing top talent, high prospect guys perform at elite levels. It makes the game better. There's excitement around them. Dylan Cruz could be an absolute stud, especially with all the other young guys over there in Washington. Let's keep it rolling. Last 5. Let's keep it rolling.
All right.
There's
Tyler Fitzgerald.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Tyler Fitzgerald.
421 average, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, only 82% rostered. Maybe he's available. Big dumper on my team. Last 10 games, 7 home runs, 13 RBIs. Literally won me my first week matchup in the last 2 days of the game, and the last 2 days of the series. Torkelson, last 12 games, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. Another guy that is a young buck for Detroit that is key for their success, especially if they want to make a playoff push. Mm-hmm. Luis Angel Acuña, last 10 games, 379 average, 4 stolen bases, 0 tweets.
Yeah, 0 tweets. And if you're looking for a guy right now that's not overly rostered, I can't give you an exact percentage on this guy, but he's not, one of your top 10 picks in baseball. This guy's starting to hit for average, which he did in the minors, and he's stealing bases.
56% rostered.
And he's the younger brother of an absolute superstar. I'd go out and get him. And last but not least, your boy, Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso, Gator great, last 7 games, 333 average, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, said he's the most locked in at the plate since his junior year of college, which is when he was drafted by the Mets.
Super exciting. All of those guys should be rostered. If they aren't rostered, absolutely pick them up. And if you're seeing these guys and you have them on your team, there's a few of them that I would not even consider trading. Pete Alonso, Torkelson, Big Dumper. And there's some guys I might sell high on. Tyler Fitzgerald, Luis Angel Acuña, and Dylan Cruz. Maybe Dylan Cruz. I don't know. I still think it's too early on him. I'm a big fan. Let's talk some guys that are absolutely the complete opposite of the hot guys, the not guys. Juan Soto, last 12 games, a $186 average, 2 home runs, which everybody likes to see a little bit of pop from this guy, a 604 OPS, though, which is not wowing anybody, and a $765 million contract.
Yeah, and the weird
and the
interview.
Mets are winning. And the Mets are winning.
And the Mets are winning. And Lindor's also slumping, which is Pete Alonso really.
Yeah.
Big catalyst there. But I think the Juan Soto thing that also makes it interesting is that comment about how he basically misses Aaron Judge in the lineup. Which when you're making $765, you're supposed to be Aaron Judge. So
yeah.
It's just
15
not a great
years,
look.
by the way. 15 years. I think he's going to get it together, though. Obviously, he's too good of a hitter. He needs to get his mind straight. On the other side, though, you got Anthony Volpe over there with those Yankees, also slumping, a $179, 0 home runs, and a .529 OPS. Don't give up on this guy yet. He usually has some slumps throughout the year. I think he'll get it together. He will hit for power as well. Riley Green is hitting 163 with 0 home runs over his last 11 games with a .413 OPS. That one's shocking to me. That's a high average guy that is literally not putting the ball in play. Go take a look at his advanced stats. I don't know what they say, so maybe this is just some bad luck, but something to monitor there. Salvi Perez, last 12 games, 1 homer, a $156 average with a .475 OPS. Nothing to write home about. Ho-hum, he's going to get it done. It's Salvi Perez. Not worried about it. Dansby Swanson. This is the last guy on our not list, and he might be the last guy on the lineup list here soon. Dansby Swanson's last 10 games, $116 average, 0 home runs, 1 RBI, a .256 OPS, which, by the way, guys, it doesn't get much lower than that. 19 strikeouts in his last 43 plate appearances, and yes, that is a 44% strikeout rate. You might as well just have the bat boy go out there and stand there. It's about the same production. Dude needs to step up. He's making too much money, which, by the way, I guess in these days standards, it's not that much money, but he's still making too much money to be doing that.
Yeah, he's there for defense. Defensive wizard. That's why you make the big bucks in the pros.
I guess so. So speaking of the Cubs, obviously not too serious on the Dansby Swanson thing. He usually has some slumps as well, but a weekend series that we're excited about. So these are the series to watch this week, this upcoming weekend. So we have the Phillies at Cubs, and we've got Ray versus Walker, Brown versus Luzardo, and Taillon versus Nola to close it out on Sunday. I'm excited about this matchup. Obviously, being a Cubs fan, it's always fun to see the Phillies come to town too. I like these two teams. Hard nosed, play the game the right way. I'm gonna be a homer here. I'm gonna take the Cubs 2-1. I think their offense is playing really well, and I think that they can outscore bad pitching, which they will most likely have bad pitching on their side.
Yep, I'm going to go Phillies 2-1, winning the Luzardo and Nola game. And I understand it's at Wrigley, but the hotness of the Cubs is officially going out this weekend.
We'll see. We shall see. It hasn't failed me yet, but it might this weekend. The next one that we've got coming up is the Braves at Diamondbacks. So this is a really intriguing matchup. Normally, I wouldn't be too excited about seeing a 9-13 team play over the weekend. However, when you look at all the storylines and everything else that's going on with the Braves, they're actually getting it done. They're at 9-13. They started 1-7. If they play their midweek series here pretty well, they could actually find themselves just about 500 going into this weekend. And against a Diamondbacks team that is also pretty good at 13-9. So we've got Sale versus Gallen. We got Grant Holmes versus Kelly. And Grant Holmes, if you guys have not watched him, has some of the best lettuce on his head in baseball. Go watch him. And then we got Schwellenbach, who's been pitching awesome, versus our favorite pitcher of all time, Fat. His last name is literally Fat. Efaadt. Fat. I am going to go Diamondbacks. I think that they are going to cool off the Braves' comeback to relevance. I think that some of the stuff that's going on with the Braves organization right now may linger. I'm going to go 2-1.
I am going to take the Braves 2-1, winning the Sale and Schwellenbach game. They are currently on a 4-game win streak. They are currently tied with the Cardinals 4-4, where the Cardinals are 1-10 on the road. 1-10 on the road. So they'll finish. The Braves will finish up their homestand. If they win 2 of 3 there, that would make the Braves 11-14 going into the Diamondbacks, which then I have them winning 2 of 3, which would make them 13-15 heading into the last week of April, closing in on 500 with Ronald Acuña around the corner, and I guess Spencer Strider possibly around the corner as well. So
again,
we shall see if they can do that, but I have the Braves going 2-1.
All right, that's fair enough. We are now going to talk Red Sox at Guardians / Old Indians here. We got the Houck versus Lively, Bueller versus Allen, Bayo versus Williams matchups. So this one's going to be fun. The Red Sox, for all of the turmoil that they've had with their offensive production and everything else, are still sitting up there. They're above 500, and they're sitting in second place. They're going into another second place team in Cleveland. I'm going to go... Oh, man, I don't know. I really want to pick the Red Sox here, but I actually think I'm going to go with the Guardians. I want to see the Guardians in a 2-1 here.
Yep, I'm going to go Red Sox. Tanner Houck has been atrocious lately, so I'm having him lose the first game. And then you have Walker Buehler versus Bayo. Walker Buehler's coming off his best start. 7 innings, 9 Ks, something along those lines. It was against the White Sox, but the White Sox play like the 1923 Yankees against the Red Sox, so it was a good start. And then they have Brian Bayo in the third game, who had his first game back today, which he threw 5 innings and gave up, I think, 1 run. I don't think those other ones were his, but the Red Sox are currently winning 8-3 in his game. So I got the Red Sox going 2-1, and hopefully that will put them in first place after this week.
Yeah, I think it's something weird happens in Cleveland, though, sometimes. I like the Red Sox in that matchup, too, but there's something weird about Cleveland. They play well there. Our last matchup of the weekend, which this is the best matchup by far of the weekend. The Rangers are going out to San Francisco, and they are taking on the Giants. We've got Eovaldi versus Verlander, which might be one of the best old man matchups of the season. We got Mahle versus Ray, and we've got Corbin versus Hicks. Patrick Corbin, my God, still kicking. I'm gonna go with the home team here. I think the Rangers are gonna rely on hitting, and that is not a hitter's park. I'm gonna go Giants 2-1. I like Verlander and Ray to get it done, and I like Hicks to just blow it up.
Yep, I'm going to take the opposite. Going to go Rangers 2-1. I will say this. I think the Giants are for real. And I think their offense is better than advertised.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the gut pick, which will be the Rangers winning the Eovaldi and Maul starts and losing the finale.
Yeah. We'll see about that. Well, we'll see if I can add on to my.
Would be a good week. We have all opposite picks. So it's either going to be a huge lead for you or comeback season for me.
We're going to find out very quickly. But yeah, man, this has been fun. That's it for this week on Toast Sports Baseball. If you're still listening, you are officially part of the squad. Go ahead and hit follow, share it with the fantasy buddy. We'll catch you guys next week with some more chaos. Stay toasty.